As many of you know, V-cubes do not come with adjustable cores. So in this tutorial, I will teach you how to modify them so they become adjustable. Now what you'll need for the V-cube 5 and 7 is a soldering iron and some wire cutters. And then for just the V-cube 6, you will need pliers. You'll of course need a screwdriver, and then you'll need to order some of these 3x3 cores from cubeforyou.com. And the type of screws you will need are 440. For the V-cube 5 and 6, they will need to be 1 inch long. And for the V-cube 7, they will need to be 1 inch and 3/8 long. And you can get these screws at Ace Hardware. They have an excellent screw selection. However, they did not have anything as specific as 1 inch and 3/8. All they had was 1 1/4 and 1 1/2 inch. 1 1/4 is too short, you barely get anything screwed into the core, and 1 1/2 screws all the way down into the core without tightening the cube as much as you would like to. So it has to be 1 inch and 3/8. So if you're going to need to cut your screws, you'll need something like bolt cutters. I mean, this thing cuts through these things like paper. Alright, now let's start with the V-cube 6, since it's the easiest to modify. Now take your pliers and grip this core piece like this, and bend it back and forth until it snaps off. Now try to cover the top of the rivets so that the spring doesn't go flying off and gets lost somewhere. And after it snaps off, take your 440 by 1 inch screw, the spring that came out, and the core piece, and just assemble them together. And then you want to screw it into the core about 8 times, like 8 wrist turns like this. And that's really all there is to it. You just repeat those steps for each of the core pieces. Now when you start to assemble your core, if you notice it's like a little too loose in there or it's too hard to put in, then feel free to adjust the tensions right now. But right now, 8 wrist turns seems to be pretty good for this. So just assemble your cube, and that's really all there is to it. Now with the V-cube 5 and 7 cores, they are built much tougher. So what you're going to have to do is take your wire cutters here and clip off the plastic right here. And this will be a bit hard to do. And make sure you have sharp wire cutters to do this. You just do the same thing on the V-cube 7. Now after you cut it off, you'll notice this piece of plastic stuck in there. Now what I recommend you do is take an alligator clip here connected to something nice and heavy, although this is only optional, and grip the top of the rivet head like this. Although in the V-cube 7, the space is too small, so you won't be able to do it there. It just makes it easier a little. Now take your nice hot soldering iron and just gently push it on the bottom of the rivet here. After several minutes, you'll notice it give way. When that happens, just pull this core piece right off of the rivet, and the alligator clip will just leave it behind, holding on to it. Now with the V-cube 7, you're just gonna have to do without the alligator clip, so just kind of push on it until it gives way, and kind of wiggle it out like this. But be sure to remember that that rivet will be hot, and don't let it get on your hands. Now, if you don't have a soldering iron, like I said before, you could just use a Dremel. So, like, you can solder off this whole bottom section where the plastic is in. But you just have to be very careful because you don't want to solder away the little ring down in there. I'm not sure if you can see it very well. So, because that's what holds the spring in place. So you want to make sure that's in there. So just be very careful if you have to Dremel away that whole section. Alright, so after you got it all taken apart, take your 440 by 1 inch screw and stick it in there, and just screw it on with about 8 wrist turns again. And as for the V-cube 7, if you need to cut down your screws, cut off 1/8 of an inch of it, take whatever cutting thing you're going to be doing. I suppose you could also use a file, but that would sure be a lengthy time. So just take your bolt cutters, and you probably want to stick in so that about 4 circles of threads are sitting in there. So just like that. That should be 1/8 of an inch there. So after you got it in there, just squeeze it. I gotta get torque and clip. And another thing you might want to do is file down the base of this screw because there could be imperfections in the threads, and that would interfere with screwing this into the core for the first time. So you want to make sure any imperfection is filed out of the way. So it takes a little while, but it's worth it. So after you finally have a screw that's 1 3/8 long, just take it and, again, screw it in the same way. About 8 wrist turns. And there you are. You should be able to make adjustable V-cube cores now. And what's interesting is this also works with the Rubik's 5x5. But if you remembered, I kind of mutilated my core. So all I really have is these 2 centerpieces left. And this works very nicely. I mean, there's little plastic rings in there that hold the spring back, so you can just stick a spring in there and some screws. So yeah, if anyone is willing to donate an old, worn out, loose Rubik's 5x5, I'd be willing to pay shipping. Then I would be happy to make a tutorial specifically for the Rubik's 5x5. Because what, you spend maybe $5 making this thing a little better. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.